Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I know with the news coming down that we may have a few new listeners or watchers. Make sure you are subscribing on all platforms. If this is your first time around, definitely comment on anything you might find interesting as we go on, anything you want to sound off about. So please engage with us on all platforms, including the comment section down below. It's season 4. Once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Pete, I got to tell you, my favorite part of this weekend was getting to see Joel, our guy from Two Men in a Garden at the women's NIT final. I went with my mom to the WNIT final, and she got the spicy dill last week, and she was super excited to see Joel and tell him how much she really enjoyed the pickles. So that was really cool. And of course, I talked to him and I was like, Joel, we got to get the spicy cantina, the Midtown Madness signature line. So I don't know. He didn't say no. He didn't say no. But anyway, if you want to get in on the Two Men in a Garden action, you can get their salsa or pickles at any local grocery store. Because it's local, it tastes amazing. They've got all the flavors to suit your individual salsa preferences. You may want to go check them out online at twomeninthegarden.com if you're particular about your salsa, because they may not have all the flavors in stores. Get at them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. You'll likely find their social media attached to anything we put out regarding episodes. Pete, are we back?
We're back.
The Billikens are back, baby.
We're all the way back.
Hot shirts in bio, Pete.
Yes. For non-Twitter users, you gotta check out, you gotta check out Zach's very steadfast commitment to this hot shirts in bio joke, which is a reference to the many, many bots that may try to solicit you. If you, in fact, do have an X account, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. But Zach is so committed to this. He had a t-shirt made over the weekend.
Yes, I went out and made a prototype.
Yes.
So I wanted to see how people would respond. I thought about wearing it to the women's game, and actually my mom was trying to figure out what she was going to wear. And I was like, Mom, you should wear this shirt.
If your mom wore that, she would be a legend. But I can only picture her face when you asked her to do that.
Yes, I'm getting her to. I'm gonna get her to wear it to a men's game this year. But wait. Let us know if you are interested. I don't know. I haven't even really gone out and done the research on what it would cost or where to get set up. But if you're interested, let us know. Because we're thinking about a podcast T-shirt of some kind. And this was the first thing I thought of. Dude, like I said, this is crazy. This whole saga is insane. Because, and I think there are people online that are on the message board and maybe on Twitter that like don't realize how much of this is on like West Pine Bills. And I don't want to sound like I'm throwing us in there too, but like West Pine Bills, reached out, like they've been on this since last Arch Madness. They've been on Josh Schertz since then. And that's when they told us about him. And then from there, it was, the directive honestly was, let's talk about this guy's amazing. Let's talk about him as much as humanly possible. Because Rich Chaffetz maybe isn't on Twitter, but Ross certainly is. And you put it in front of Ross, it gets in front of Rich. And I mean, like this is as close as it gets to the fans having a true say in the direction of a college basketball program, in my opinion.
I think we probably will not see a situation where the quote unquote mob gets credit for this
No,
hire.
no,
But
nobody's getting credit in the mob. But
but I think there's a lot of value to what you're saying in that yeah, they've been hammering it for a full year, right? And they had a couple of very specific tweets in like November and again in January saying like, for real, this guy would be great at SLU. And here's why. And that's kind of where it started. And what that does, Zach, it's not just like one or two people trying to like raise their hand and get in front of like a big booster or the athletic department or anything like that. It's a snowball effect because then you and I are going like, yeah, you guys need to watch Indiana State. This guy's really good. He's a great candidate. If we move on from Ford this year, this is a guy we need to be looking at. And then they say it, we say it, it goes and goes and goes from there, and people see it, and more fans jump on this, and they're on board with this idea. And it's not it's not just us. It's not just West
no.
Pine Bills. I know they're, the people who are going to conduct a search, agents, boost, like they're aware of him at least, right? But the fact that there is a swell of interest and support from the really hardcore committed fans had to count for at least something, I think.
Yeah, I think and it says a lot that the guy that the fans have been putting on the internet on Billikens.com, on Twitter X, or on anywhere.
Yeah.
The fact that guy was seemingly the first choice. I mean, I'm gonna say that I think they kicked the tires on Chris Mack first, just based on relationships. I think Chris Mack was reached out to first. I'm sure Porter Moser was reached out to by the Shavits, but when push came to shove for the search, it was Schertz.
Yeah, like when they got serious, right?
Yes.
Like when it became time to really zero in on a guy and go to the next level in terms of those conversations. Now, I do want to do the newsy thing, and let's back up and do this at a high level because we just got right into it. But Josh Schertz is the new St. Louis University men's basketball head coach. To our understanding, the deal is for about $2 million a year plus incentives over 6 years. SLU made the announcement at 10 a.m. on Saturday, with a press conference scheduled for 10 a.m. Monday, around the time that this will be hitting your podcast feeds. Their social media blast, their statement was official. Josh Schertz is a St. Louis Billiken. We are thrilled to announce Josh Schertz is the next head coach of our program. And then his statement was, I could not be more excited to be named the head coach of St. Louis University. From top-down leadership, President Dr. Fred Postello, Chairman Joe Conran, Trustee Dr. Richard Chaffetz, and Athletic Director Chris May, to the elite facilities, infrastructure, academics, and resources. This is a place where you can build a sustainable championship-level program. On top of that, the opportunity to work, recruit, and live in the great sports city of St. Louis was incredibly appealing. I can't wait to get to work building and developing a program everyone involved with can be proud of. Good statement from my perspective, Zach. And I think those words that really pop out, the ones that I kind of emphasized, where this is a place where you can build a sustainable championship level program. We'll get into it later about the arguments we've had over what kind of job this is, what level job this is, but that's something you and I both believe in, right?
Yes. Yeah, totally. I think there are certain people, I believe they reside in the greater Terre Haute, Indiana area
Greater Terre.
Yes, the greater, not great. It's definitely not great. But I think that they would caution, and by the way, we're going to get into the Indiana State reaction to the whole thing. But I think after leaving just 3 years into a job where he said that he was coming to build a program, not just a good season or whatever, in his introductory press conference, I think they would be a little salty or telling us we're crazy if we believe what he's saying here.
Yeah, I mean, to put in perspective what he did at Indiana State, like that was, when he took the job, considered one of the worst jobs in the Valley. which you and I agree is a notch below the A10 in terms of strength. And in the course of 3 seasons, a tough first season, a very good second season, and then a third season that turned out to be their best single season since Larry Bird was on campus. Since that NCAA final season they had in 1979, this was their unquestionably their best season since then.
I think the way I put it in multiple different platforms is that Indiana State, shit. How did I forget what I was going to say there?
About the context of their program.
Oh, yes. This is the first time that a head coach from Indiana State has been hired away to a bigger program since John Wooden.
Yeah. That's been a while.
Now we've had one in the modern era, but I mean it's a little bit. I think obviously I don't know. I mean I don't think SLU's been much better, but certainly they've been a better, more less. They put more financial commitment into their athletics here.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's absolutely true.
Yes.
It's a fact.
So it's a very odd thing for this fan base over at Indiana State to go through, just as it would be for us a little bit.
Well, I do want to give them, some grace and understanding, because it's really it's whiplash, right? To have a season like that and then very suddenly go from thinking you're going to make the NCAA tournament to being snubbed because basically everything broke against them, from the Missouri Valley final that they lost by 4 points to a very good Drake team. Everything from that point on kind of broke against them in terms of what they thought was going to happen, right? Except for the fact that rumors very quickly bubble up that Schertz is going to be leaving, and then he goes on a run all the way to the NIT final. And frustrating for them not to be in the actual NCAA tournament, but at the same time, like, an NIT final is something they haven't seen in ever decades, I don't know. And that was like just a really unexpected, exciting run. At the same time, we're on the other end of that. Every rumor we hear is that he's the guy, and SLU is not publicly making any other moves, so we have no reason to not believe it. And I can understand being in their position where you're like, we've had this magical season.
No.
We thought we were in the tournament and weren't. And now, even though we go on this NIT run, we're losing our coach.
No.
And it hasn't happened yet, but one assumes they're going to lose a lot of players to the portal as well. Now, the thing that they did do, Zach, and I know you're about to say, they hired their associate head coach, Matt Graves, as the interim head coach, and all indications are that they're going to remove that interim tag pretty soon.
Yeah, but I wanted to. Did we rewind? Because
no, we didn't.
We hit the news. We kind of everything we do here. We have the notes that kind of go down. Yeah, and we always meld. Then we meld.
Yeah, so we do need to go over what happened in the last week, because we've already referred to this a little bit. Indiana State beat Utah 100-90. Oh, wonderful. And the NIT semifinals on Tuesday the 1st. Greg Doyle of the Indy Star then wrote about the expectation that Schertz was going to SLU and taking 4 starters with him. Prompting Schertz to tweet that he hadn't talked to anyone about his future and was fully focused on the NIT finals. He and Doyle went back and forth a little bit on Twitter as well, and it was cordial. It was cordial, but Schertz said, like, hey, I didn't say anything here.
And he's right. I think that where Indiana State fans probably are now looking back at that and not liking it is that it's clear that Schertz meant that he didn't talk to anybody in the media about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously there are things probably mostly being handled by his agent, but that are happening behind the scenes.
That is the plausible deniability of it all.
Sure. In the NIT finals, Indiana State lost to Seton Hall 79-77 after giving up 9 unanswered points to finish the game. Unfortunately, not a very good last possession either. Didn't really get the shot they wanted. Schertz said that it wasn't his time. It wasn't the time to address his future after the game, but that he would let everyone know later this weekend. So that was Thursday night, and then go
no,
ahead.
I just think it's so funny that every single thing he has put out on social media, and I'm not going after him for it or anything like that, but everything is like 50-50 in the way you can read it.
Yeah.
Like you could flip a coin and be like, yeah, he's talking, he's gonna stay. He's gonna stay. They got the money together.
Yeah.
But then you can also be like, oh, clearly if he's saying that he's gonna address it, why would he address something, why would it
Yeah.
not why is this not the time to say, hey, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Let's run
No,
it back.
I know. He's been an interesting follow, that's for sure. By the way, he's at Josh Schertz, SCHERTZ SLU.
Yeah,
Already
buddy.
changed it. That was
Yes.
ISU.
The header.
Yesterday morning, that was ISU, and now it's changed.
I'm a huge fan of the I don't know who I'm assuming this is a Neisler joint, but the
Yeah.
Josh the banner on his Twitter account
Yeah, it
is
looks great.
dope. I
It's a
love it.
really nice nameplate.
I
Yeah.
like that blue court.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So we started hearing after that, the post game, reports varying from Friday morning that we would hear about it to quote unquote by the end of the weekend. The national college basketball writers started tweeting that it was happening over the course of Friday, beginning with quotes like sources tell me he is expected to take the St. Louis job, and then adding expected years, salary range. And then later they started saying that he was meeting with his team that day. As Friday wore on, we got more reports saying that he was coming to SLU, had met with his team. It just seemed inevitable with each passing hour that day that this is what was indeed happening. And then come Saturday morning, I guess that was 10 a.m. St. Louis time is when we got the official announcement from SLU, which we read earlier.
Yeah, I got a text asking if I was on my toes, and I happened to be doing calf raises at that point in the gym. I'm not kidding.
Me
I don't
too,
know.
Zach. Me
Yes,
too.
I know. I knew that about you. See, we do the same. We got
Fitness
it.
freak over here. Yep.
Man, I'm I cannot believe we've reached the conclusion of a saga that I didn't think we'd ever reach, honestly.
Yeah, it sure feels like that, but it's been really impressive. And I think it's a good time to transition into Billiken fan reactions to this. And I gotta say, Zach, it has been universally overwhelmingly positive. And
Yeah.
even some of the local media figures who were clamoring for other names as the head coach for one reason or another, seem to realize that this is a very good hire.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the local stuff, but I mean, as far as news goes or media outlets, but I
Mhm.
mean, I think, I mean, it is a 180-degree turn from the announcement of Travis Ford as head coach.
Sure. Yes.
It's incredible. And I think, it's a testament again to, uh, you know, uh, whoever led this search, the group that led this search, were paying attention, not only to the fans, but to after Ford was fired or leading up to Ford being fired, but also kind of the temperature of what they wanted in a coach and what we kind of, or I say we, but I mean Billiken fans as a whole, wanting a guy that was a basketball coach first and a recruiter second. Kind of a guy who had a system that he could bring, that players could come in and you could fit guys into that system instead of recruiting the best player and figuring out what your plan of attack would be for the season.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like people sort of understand that, right? I mean, like fans have gotten smart. Like we kind of like as soon as you hear a name, you can go watch video on his
Yeah.
team. You can go look at his background. You can go see what he's doing. And I think that's why like so many fans have gotten behind this hire really, really fast. There are still, it's weird, Zach, to see pockets of Twitter and Billikens.com, the main message board. There's still some negativity about among a certain group of the fan base who I think they were starting to get upset at the last season under Ford, the way fans were reacting to it. And where Ford was saying down the stretch, stay positive, stay positive. I guess there were a few people adhering to that sort of thing. And a lot of the rest of us were like, no, we're done. We're moving on. We got to move on. And
Yeah.
they didn't like that, and they're still not quite ready to turn the page from that, it seems. They're still kicking and screaming a little bit. But I gotta say, overall, the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive here, and rightfully so.
Should we hit the yang to the Billikens yin?
Yes. Yeah, let's go with that for sure.
So the Indiana State fans were clearly over the moon about losing their coach. They were super pumped up about it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, look, like I said before, like I want to sympathize with them because like this is hard, right? Like
Yes.
that's a hard thing to be. That's a big bucket of ice water on your head right after a dream season for a program like that. And I do feel bad for them, but this is how it works. And I think you have said so well, and I completely agree with, don't fear being a stepping stone, right? Just like keep making the right hire. And it looks like Indiana State's about to do that again. Hiring that top assistant, if that's what they're doing. So I think they can actually sustain a competitive program within the Valley if they keep doing that. And apparently they do have some NIL and more salary and resource commitments behind that guy as well if they retain him. So I think they're going to be okay, right? But it's still hard to lose that guy. And I think what happens in the bubbling up of all those emotions after you lose the head coach who just had such a great season there is you lose perspective a little bit. And some of the things that they've said about SLU and how this process has gone, and like St. Louis itself as a city, which I know is not the most glamorous city in the world.
It's
Uh,
definitely no Terre Haute. I'll tell you
we
that
all,
much.
if you're listening to the sound of our voices, you know that St. Louis has its issues, but um, it has been pretty wild to see some of the things that they've said. But I gotta say, I have not nearly engaged with it as much at all. I don't think I've read anything like on their message board or anything like that. So I just see what people share with me. I haven't read anything in the past week or so. Ever since it was kind of well, maybe less than a week, maybe like the past 4 or 5 days or so. So anyway, I don't know if you've seen anything specifically that has really struck a nerve.
Uh, I mean, not really to the point of like I just think that I think it's so that I think there was a guy on Twitter who was going back with that that NIT stew, and I feel like they're all living in like a hypothetical world,
Hmm.
where it's just like the kind of stuff like the idea that Chaffetz runs the athletic department with his money.
Yes.
It's like I wonder what one of the posts here. I wonder what Travis Ford would say about working for Chaffetz. You work for them, not the university. Let's not forget he had them dancing not long ago and he got canned. Also, if you look at how they felt about him in the past, this whole thing could be a flash in the pan. Like, what are you talking about? He won 12 games last year.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So
It's
is NIT Stu the same as this Joe
no.
Stunardi guy?
Oh,
Okay,
yes, yes, yeah,
that's him.
yeah.
I
Or
kind of
maybe it's not the same. It's not the same, but I'm talking about Joe Stunardi.
Joe Stunardi. Okay, so he
Yeah.
works with NIT Stu at something called the Barking Crow, and he wrote such a bad take that like a piece that I thought was so dumb that I have a hard time even saying like who it is or what he's doing because I just, I always thought NIT Stu was kind of a funny account because, the whole like obsession with the NIT and everything. It's kind of a funny gag to me, a very self-aware. account, but yeah, this Joe Stunardi says he's based in Des Moines and is an Iowa State guy, and just kind of wrote that perspective from an outsider of like, actually, this is kind of a lateral move, and it was just like, look, I know it's hard when you're like I just said, he's an Iowa State guy in Des Moines writing about college basketball, but you can only know so much about the ins and outs of every program. There's over 360 Division One programs, and there's just no way to really understand some of the subtleties and complexities at all of these places. And I don't think this guy had a very good perspective on the actual differences between SLU and Indiana
Yeah,
State.
not at all.
And what makes it a good job or a better job. I just thought that was crazy.
Here, I'll just read this one because it's probably the most comprehensive, and I have no idea what the hell is going on. Things we predicted we would hear. Schertz didn't get along with Curtis. Schertz left because of administrative uncertainty. I'm also going to say these names and not explain who they are because it doesn't matter. Schertz left because of our NIL wasn't strong enough. Schertz left because we initially made him a low ball offer. Schertz left because we couldn't afford a practice facility. Schertz left because locker rooms weren't done, even started. Schertz left because Curtis fired Klink. If Klink was here, he would have stayed. Schertz left because he wasn't getting input on new president. Schertz left because we didn't offer him enough money. Schertz left because Angie Lansing hates him. Am I missing any? The real reason Schertz left, and this is interesting, and we'll get into kind of responding to it. He got an offer, SLU, over a month ago that he didn't think he could refuse. He never imagined Indiana State would raise enough money to meet his demands. He never imagined fans would sell out all our NIT games. He never imagined Louisville and FAU would also offer him similar or better deals. He didn't imagine 10 of the top 17 players in the conference, 6 being his own, would either be gone next year due to portal or graduation. He didn't anticipate Mullins getting fired from SIU and didn't anticipate DeVries heading to West Virginia. We were 16-1 in the Holman Center with those teams at full strength. He woulda, coulda, shoulda had a preseason top 25 team. But because Schertz left because he fucked up and found himself in a situation where he committed to a place he no longer really wanted to go. The dude is a complete moron for putting himself in the situation. And then he goes on and says, we could have always handled him leaving. Anyone with half a brain, which is funny that he talks about half a brain because I don't know if he has one. This guy could see that at some point he was going to leave. It was how he left, leading on donors, this fan base community, saying a decision hadn't been made. Dude, what the hell? First of all, if Schertz took the job a month ago, right? If he accepted an offer a month ago, that was at a time where he thought he was still going to make the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Schertz was going to make the NCAA tournament. If Schertz makes the NCAA tournament, you're damn well sure he's going to get the Louisville and FAU offer.
Right.
Or an offer of similar ilk, right? He's going to get a P5 offer.
Just look at the Valley final. DeVries goes to West Virginia.
Correct.
Right. You know, that happened while the NIT was still going on. And it's not to say like had the outcome flipped, Schertz goes to West Virginia. Like things were going on in the background already. DeVries has a little bit different, longer D1 track record, blah, 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 blah. Can bring his son with him, stuff like that. But that was absolutely a big factor in that, right? I mean, like it's what happens. If you are in the NCAA tournament, you're a bigger profile.
Yeah, but I mean, again, what I'm getting at is like that can't be true. The idea that he never imagined that Louisville and FAU would also offer him similar to SLU. I mean, when he accepted, what was what's the alleged timeline here that he accepted this over a month ago? What is that? March 7th. That was right before the end of the MVC tournament. So we're saying he accepted it at the MVC. So
month. That's a month ago, by the way.
Yeah,
a full month.
Yeah. So, like at that point, he still thinks he might get a Power 5 offer if they go and win the MVC. and go to the NCAA tournament. Likely they win in the NCAA tournament. Likely they win at least one game.
I think this team could have. Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't make sense. SLU was the first to offer out of anyone. And I think he saw that it was a program where it made sense. It was, basketball first, basketball only, I guess. They don't have a FCS football team bleeding their athletic department dry. By the way, if you ever want a reason not to have a football team at SLU, just smell the air in Terre Haute.
I also don't want to overlook the fact that that person did say something about the offers from FAU in Louisville. Like, look, FAU, yeah, that's where he got his degree from, and that's where he started his coaching career. But that was number one a long time ago. But number two, what we heard was 7 years, $1 million a year, right? Like that's not even close to what he got at SLU. He's getting double, right? And then at Louisville, when you look at the contract that Pat Kelsey got, 2.3 million a year over 5, that actually works out to less money than 2 million a year over 6, which is what Schertz is reportedly getting at SLU. So, I mean, if you're asking,
there's no way there's no way they would have offered a better contract to Schertz than Pat Kelsey, who
right.
has a longer D1 track
That's right.
record.
That's absolutely right. So there's that factor as well. It's like the Louisville job for less money. No, thank you. I mean, that's all the pressure in the world. Look at Travis Ford's career. If you want versus Kenny Payne's career, if you want to see a difference in pressure at two different programs, right? Like, it's not even close. So to make the same amount of money or more for a much more comfortable job, is a no-brainer to me. But yeah, so anyway, I don't want to overlook the fact that SLU's offer contract is very, very good. It's very nationally competitive. Are there programs that could pay more? Yes, but not to a guy who's technically never made an NCAA tournament and 3 years ago was the head coach at Lincoln Memorial University in rural Tennessee.
What I think it's interesting because the general consensus, besides Josh Schertz being dead to all these fans on Sycamore Pride, what do you think about the way he left, quote unquote?
I don't know how else you can do it. Like he doesn't know. We just for the past few minutes have been talking about what he did or did not assume or think could happen over these past 4 or 5 weeks, right? Like I'm not sure what else you can do if you know you're going to have a lot of opportunities than to have your agent out there working on your behalf and getting these things done. I don't know what conversations Schertz himself had with any of these programs, right? I don't know how many or to what extent or how seriously any of that stuff. We can only speculate. But how he handled it overall, I think was fine. I mean, what are you supposed to do? He could have left. Like he could have left as soon as he had what he thought was going to develop into an offer from SLU and just let his assistant coach the NIT.
Yeah.
Right. Like he, there were that there's a lot of different ways he could have handled this, but to his credit, he finished the job.
Yeah.
He was there to do a job and they kept winning. And he must have handled it pretty well internally to keep everyone motivated because it's not like that NIT run was a bunch of easy games, right? Like that was an upgrade in the level of competition from what they're playing in the Valley every day with just a couple exceptions. So I to me as an outsider, I mean, it looks like he handled it pretty well. I don't know if you saw it any differently.
I mean, I know there were fans over there in my, I've read more Indiana State message board talk than I've read of any book in the past year. So I've got a kind of an encyclopedic knowledge of what's going on. But I think they almost would have preferred, I guess, him announcing he was leaving at the end of the season or after the Missouri Valley Championship, and then coaching out a last ride type deal. And I mean, I could see that, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. but really I don't have a problem with either direction.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't necessarily have like an ethical or moral or whatever problem with it, but I think people say that and they don't realize like this guy won like what 5 or 6 more games after that.
Yeah.
Um, I would take the wins.
Yes.
Like I have to think if a guy's saying, "Hey, I'm leaving," it's probably a lot harder to win all those games. Look, I don't know
Or get people out to these games.
that's a big factor because they did fill their gym for these games,
And
right? They
that's
filled it
money.
multiple times. It's real money and it's a real impact on the games they were playing. And not to mention, for the first time, the NIT semifinals and finals were held in Hinkle Fieldhouse, just over an hour from Indiana State, as opposed to New York City, where they normally played in Madison Square Garden.
By the way,
Uh,
I think that's a perfect spot for the NIT.
Hinkle.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not going to be in
In New York.
MSG,
Yeah.
yeah, then that is. I
The
mean, that
college mecca, I guess, so to speak.
right. It does. I mean, I associate the NIT so strongly with Madison Square Garden that I do have a little bit of a tough time with it. But if it can't be there, Hinkle's second best. Yeah.
Um, you know who has been really good uh, through this whole process is Indiana State's media.
They have. And I really want to shout out one guy in particular because we may joke about Terre Haute and look down at them and all that kind of stuff. But they don't have like a small town Texas high school football media team who's, hooting and hollering over this whole situation. What they have is Rick Stembler of WTHI TV, who's done a fantastic job of putting all of this in perspective for Sycamores fans. He pointed out to them, both in broadcasts and very helpfully on his social media feeds as well, the difference in the NIL pool. And this is his reporting, by the way, so I'm quoting him. The difference in NIL pool between ISU and SLU is over $1 million a year. The ISU starting lineup could command on the open market this year 1.7 to $2 million. The operating budget and coaching staff salary pool are dramatically higher at SLU. In his words, like 2 to 4 times higher than at ISU. He also reiterated that Schertz is getting $2 million a year at SLU, and ISU's best offer was $850. And then he added a lot more details and what the potential ripple effects are at Indiana State. I thought the guy did a great job, for a local sports reporter with probably not the most resources. He really stepped up and gave them the perspective like, look, I know we're upset, but like this is just reality. This is what's going on right now. And here's why Josh Schertz is taking this offer and here's what he's going to have to work with. It's pretty night and day. And I would have loved to share it with all of the other people who were saying things like either it was a lateral move or a SLU just doesn't that good a job, because clearly there's a lot more to work with there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's so ridiculous to hear people call this a lateral move. I mean, really, like, that's the whole thing. The whole thing is the money, right? And it's not the money for Josh Schertz. There's no chance in hell that this starting lineup is staying together. First of all, there were rumors, from what I could tell on the Indiana State board, that uh, 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 Avila was headed to Illinois. So I mean, whether or not Josh Schertz keeps the lineup together at Indiana State, that's a roll of the dice. So I mean, coming here and he at least has a chance to make offers to these guys to stay. I'm sure he's had conversations with these guys about what they would want, and that's probably where the negotiation for the NIL money, the necessary commitment probably came from. So I would imagine that what 1.4 million is the rumored amount for this year.
Yeah, I've heard 1.5 and 1.6 too.
Well,
So,
but so
yeah, every
anyway,
time
so
I hear it, it's climbed a little bit. So I don't know if that's real or not.
all the donations keep rolling in.
Yeah,
That's what's happening.
sure.
But yeah, I think there's no way he keeps this team remotely together at Indiana State. I think the only way you keep that team together in any shape or form is to move elsewhere and see if if the guys are down to move. And it's interesting that I thought I saw that the reports from insiders in Terre Haute were saying that the players weren't aware. But I mean, we look at the Semler stuff, and I mean, he talked about how it was an open secret.
Mhm.
So, and also, I mean, look, like if you're gonna look at the way, like it was Schertz hiding it from boosters who were trying to pony up money to get him to stay, all this stuff. Like, I don't know. I just find you have to be pretty not aware to realize that he was looking somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I
So,
mean, it was whether they call it an open secret there or not, it was certainly the worst kept secret in college basketball in terms of the rumors that were flying around. And the fact that it was, again, an entire month between the end of the Valley Conference tournament and as we record this, this weekend when he's being announced, there's only so much you can do to keep those details from leaking at all, right? I mean, it's just gonna get out there.
let's get a little catty, shall we? Why don't you read the official tweet from from Indiana State?
Yeah, so this was on the Indiana State basketball account. They said head coach Josh Schertz declines contract extension, resigns as Indiana State men's basketball head coach. Thank you for your efforts over the last 3 seasons with the Sycamores coach. And
Breaking news though. Actually, well, it doesn't matter because we're not going to break it right away, but there is some more stuff we do know. But go on. Yes. No,
no, that's it.
let me throw it in the notes. We're going to get to it.
Okay.
But apparently it came out, that there are a couple people in the background of this video of Josh in the, arriving on campus.
Oh,
And it's two assistant coaches.
oh, okay. I hadn't seen
Yeah.
that yet. I've
Yeah.
seen some rumors about assistant coaches, but so I just read the official, not official, well, tweet from the official Indiana State basketball
Yes.
account, which we thought was a little catty indeed. But I want to compare that, Zach, to the thank you that
Yes.
Schertz had printed up in a graphic and shared on his social media accounts, signed it, and that went out as we record today, 3 hours ago on early evening
Mhm.
on Sunday the 7th. And it went the top just says in big letters, thank you. And he says a thank you in, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 paragraphs to the whole Indiana State community. He calls out easily 20 people by name, probably.
Missing the president. He didn't
Oh,
include the president.
okay. See, I haven't run through it with a fine
I
tooth
didn't
comb
either.
yet.
I didn't either, but that's what they said on the Indiana State board.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I have a master's degree in Sycamore Pride.
you sure do. You sure do. I mean, like when this thing went out a few hours ago, I'm trying to feed my kids and then like had to give them baths and stuff like that. So I have not been able to actually break it down. But regardless, he put out this really nice, heartfelt thank you. It did have one segment that I thought was a little funny
It was.
because and excuse me while I squint and maybe get too close to the microphone
Uh,
here. But he talked about
oh.
I do understand the impact and emotional reaction it has caused. While this emotional reaction has led to some misinformed and inane theories, nothing will change how Natalia and I feel about the community. So I thought that was pretty funny that he called them, misinformed and inane theories
Yes.
about what happened.
Um, yeah, I thought that was a good little, shot back in the middle of a very heartfelt, um, you know, man, it's so tough, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't think I would have been able to quit that job. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to tell all these people, like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. They're these
I
poor bastards.
it made me think about like you don't see this very often, right? I mean, like it's um I don't know. I thought it was really nice. I thought it was a well written, very earnest uh letter to them. And it seems like he's a very genuine guy, you know, from everything that we've written or read about him so far, seen of him so far. Regardless of how people feel about the way he handled his departure, I'm not sure, you know, I'm not really sure that he could have done it any better overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we thought he was, professional all the way through, and we even got mad at some, Twitter accounts associated with, that kind of talk SLU basketball a lot. That at least one that jumped into his mentions, which was crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was nuts. The neutral fan reaction has been interesting. I would say overwhelmingly positive.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of it is people, again, this idea of a lateral move.
I'm going to be perfectly honest in why I think this is happening. A lot of the people sharing this, you know, the opinion of the quote unquote lateral move are not thinking that there's much difference between Indiana State and SLU. These are power conference fans who
Yes.
have absolutely no perspective about the, call it, 300 teams below where their conferences operate, right? Like they know the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, and maybe the Big East. Everything under those conferences, they think is just one monolith of low level teams. They don't understand the differences between them at all. And the difference between a SLU down to like a lower, a truly lower level D1 program is monumental, right? So I honestly think that's why this is happening. These are just people who boost power conference teams and have no idea what else is going on in college basketball. And that's why every year when March rolls around, they're shocked when they get beaten by one of these actually very good teams had they been paying attention.
Yeah, I think we can leave neutral fan. Is this a lateral move at that?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of should have been Ahern though. So that's good.
No, it's hard to argue that
That
when you
that's
have
been
such a good hire.
that's been hidden with the nudes in bio bots.
Yes. Yes, it
Um,
is.
High praise from college basketball Twitter and media and college basketball coaches and uh yeah, I mean and to be honest, from I got a message from at least one former uh Billiken employee slash athlete. We'll just throw it at that. Saying that that's exactly who they thought we should hire,
Mhm.
and this person has worked in all forms of college athletics and pro athletics. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm just super pumped to see SLU being the belle of the ball for 48 hours.
Yeah, and no matter what you think about maybe, and I'm not you specifically, but I'm saying like just people in general may think about when they see these graphics with quotes from people like Jay Billis and Fran
Oh, you're
Fraschilla
definitely talking about me.
and all of the other like coaches and talking heads and people with these quotes that have been shared on SLU's, you know, social media in the past couple days. They're great quotes. Like they seem like they're, you know, like are they kind of like book blurb style quotes? Like, yeah, absolutely. Of course they are. But like Billis went out of his way to praise certain aspects of Schertz's coaching and the way his teams play. He compared his players to talented jazz musicians and the way they're able to improvise within his offense and everything. And I thought these I ate them right up. For to me, if these were kind of bought and sold, you know, favors called in or whatever, I don't care. I ate them up. I loved them. I really liked what some of these people had to say about him.
Yeah, I thought they were cheesy as hell. So look, look, we got to disagree once in a while, right?
Yeah,
We got to keep things interesting.
I'm fine
And
with that.
yeah, and I truly do think they were cheesy and kind of dorky. And I don't know. It felt like a lame marketing attempt to me. But like at the same time, it's not for us.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
probably right.
that's what we kind of went through with the merchandise, where we would see like Arch Apparel, and
Yeah.
you were just like, it's not for us, but it's glad to see it. It helps. And like we're talking about hiring a coach that again was in Indiana at Indiana State. Like, yes, they've been a media darling among I would say they probably didn't make it to household name in college
Mhm.
basketball because it's the NIT, but like I mean among general college basketball fans, your everyday college basketball fan, yeah, like they knew about it. But again, how many people are you're trying to grow your program and invite people in and understand about this coach? And if you don't know who this guy is, you might be like, well, why did we get him? Couldn't we get anybody better? Well, this is why we got him.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
so it doesn't fucking matter what I think.
It's for the general audience, and really a national audience, not just a St. Louis, a potential more casual fan audience. It's for the national audience.
So we make the hire, Pete, and we get all the pomp and circumstance out of the way, the hurricane of pomp and circumstance, because obviously you've got the initial announcement. Now you got a little calm,
Mhm.
and Monday will be the press conference. But uh, after that, Josh has some stuff to do real quick. And one of that is put together. One of those things is, well, first of all, I kind of want to talk about the existing coaches before I just want to get through that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
so basically from what we understand is Schertz gets the job. Now he will address the existing coaches and basically meet with them and presumably let them all know that they will no longer be needed. And then he will go about finalizing his staff. And Pete, I want to talk. We have about we have three names that we are fairly confident. Two we are positive on, and now we are anyway. We talked about it a minute ago. And then one that's been rumored or kind of soft reported on. Which one? Let's talk about the soft reported one.
Yeah, this is one that people have leaked from Trilly Donovan's board, and I don't endorse doing that behind the paywall stuff. I'll respect the code, but the fact that it has been put out on Billikens.com and Twitter, Zach Boisvert, is that how you pronounce his last name? I've never been sure.
Boisvert. Yeah,
He's an
Boivert.
okay,
No, I'm
yeah,
just
sure.
guessing. Like,
He's
could
been
it be French?
oh, no,
Uh,
uh,
Boivert.
boy.
Boivert. That'd be amazing if we just hit Boivert.
I hope you're right.
That would be
Boisvert.
incredible.
Uh,
Yeah.
So he's an assistant at George Washington, actually, but he does have experience with Schertz at Indiana State, and he's also got experience at Army, Maine, Fairleigh Dickinson, Iona. So he's been an assistant at a lot of places, but they did work directly together, and this was the first staff member rumor that we heard, and then there's two more, Zach, that we may have just gotten an accidental tip on.
Yeah. Well, I want to, because Zach, we'll just go with Zach,
Yeah, with a K,
not
not a
me.
C.
Yes. Oh, interesting. That is
Yeah.
interesting. Um, but he was recognized as one of the top 75 rising stars, according to Silver Waves Media, um, as an assistant coach. He's been involved with GW here in the A10, primarily responsible for opponent scouting and game planning. I feel like this is a guy you get because you want to know what everybody in the A10's doing.
Mhm.
And this guy really sounds like an absolute basketball junkie. I know we say that a lot colloquially, but like this guy has a YouTube channel where it's just basketball porn.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it.
It's literally like it's I don't even know what's going on here
Yeah.
because he's literally just he's not he's just taking videos uh from Synergy and like he's not doing any commentary. It's
Hmm.
just on silent basketball.
It's just a clip.
It's
Yeah.
wild. I've never seen
Yeah.
anything so like vanilla, but so interesting.
Yeah, but I do like when they add at least a comment of like, here's what I'm looking at, right? Even if it's just one sentence that's like, love the, in and out action on this inbound under or something like that. Like just like some little like, give me a few words so I know what I'm supposed to be looking for in this play. And yeah, most of the time, normally I could probably figure it out if I watch it once or twice, but like the fact that it's just devoid of context is pretty funny.
Yeah, he last posted 8 months ago. So it sounds like he's done with that action and is full on into coaching. So no need to worry, Billiken fans. Sounds like he's got his priorities in line. But yes, the video that I mentioned earlier, and we got tipped off, by the way. I believe it's Desmet Billiken on Billikens.com.
Mhm.
He said he noticed Anton Gray and Rob Gardner in the background of the video posted by SLU on Twitter. And
Mhm.
both of those guys were members of Schertz's staff at Indiana State.
Yeah, so Gray is an assistant coach and Gardner's special assistant to the head coach, which is a position that we've had on Ford's staff as well.
Giacoletti at one point was that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So Gray came to Indiana State from Niagara. He has about a decade of college coaching experience. Let's see, where was he before Niagara? He was at Brown. He was an AAU basketball coach before that. He was at Maine for looks like 4 years. And yeah, has some various basketball experience before that. He actually went to Rhode Island and graduated there in 2014. So
Boo.
yeah. Oh, wait a second. He was a 4-year player at Rhode Island College,
Oh,
and then yeah, got his, I guess, degree at Rhode
not
Island.
URI.
I guess he got his degree at
I
University
was
of Rhode
gonna
Island.
say I
But
don't
yeah, no,
remember
he
playing
didn't.
him.
He didn't play at the Rhode Island that we know. Um, and then if you look at Gardner, I guess he's probably a little less
Well,
experienced. I'm looking at this on the fly,
well,
by the way, because we
so
just found out about this.
so before since there's no uh media post or whatever about these hires, so I'll just use what the Sycamore site says. What Schertz said about Anton Gray is anytime I'm hiring an assistant coach, I want to bring in someone who brings value in a multitude of areas. In Anton Gray, we get a coach that excels in recruiting, brings great value to our player development program, and has an elite ability to connect with people of all backgrounds, said Coach Schertz. I'm truly excited to work alongside of Tone and can't wait for our players and fans to reap the benefits of having him as a part of our family. So I guess it's
Mhm.
Antone.
Okay. Yeah, and then Gardner was actually with him for 1 year at Lincoln Memorial. So that's where they first were together. So it
He's
kind of
on the
makes sense.
rocket ship alongside of him.
Yeah. Now the other assistant coach is Justin Furr. Furr is his
Yes.
last name. And we had heard reports that he may be joining as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Fur. It it's possible. But I did want to circle back and give a quote on Gardner from Schertz. When hiring, I've always tried to hire people who are highly intelligent, work exceptionally hard, and have high levels of humility. So Peter, I'll never be joining Josh Schertz's staffs.
No, it doesn't sound.
0 of 3. 0.
I don't know if you're a
0.
cultural fit,
No, I am
unfortunately.
not. The last and most important piece that ties all that together is being a high character person. And in Rob, I know from experience, we have someone who checks all 4 of those boxes, said Coach Schertz. I had the good fortune of working with Rob at Lincoln Memorial and have had the opportunity to work together again here at Indiana State was a no-brainer. His corporate knowledge will expedite any learning curves, and our players, staff, and supporters will benefit all from having Rob on our staff. That's interesting. That's an interesting last sentence there, Pete.
Mhm.
What do you take from that?
Sounds like his guy, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it just sounds like somebody he wants to have. What whether that means an assistant coach or special assistant at SLU, I don't know, but it sounds like that's a guy he really trusts. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, let's see. Let's talk about Indiana State players.
yeah.
Who are we taking? Who are we pillaging?
Well, that's that's been a lot of the conversation, right? Is because
And what do we care though? Is the question. Like what I think who's going to enter the portal? Who would we like? What do we think is realistic? I think these are all questions because, like I said in the last episode, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to see, you know, 4 to 5 guys come over with Josh.
Yeah, so the whole starting lineup averages double figures. That's Avila, Conwell, Swope, Kent, and Julian Larry is the fifth one. Um, and I believe all 5 of them are still they still have eligibility, right? Larry is listed as a junior, Swope as a junior, Conwell as a sophomore. Let's see here. Kent is a junior and Avila is a sophomore. Now, I don't know who's second or third year out of those classes, but those are guys who all would appear to have it at the very least one more year, if not 2, right? So that's the whole starting lineup right there. And do you get all 5 of them if they can command 1.7 to 2 million on the open market? Probably not, unless some of them are think like, oh, my value is going to be maximized if I go with Schertz, right? And beyond those guys, I'm not sure who you would prioritize, right? Like it's a little Bledson is their number 6 guy. He's a redshirt senior. So I think he might be done. Maybe he has a COVID bonus year.
I'm
And
going to
beyond
be so glad when I stop hearing that.
Yeah, oh man, me too. But beyond that, you have a lot of guys who are really just role players and they're getting anywhere from, 3 to 10 minutes a game, not really putting up big numbers. So I think it's those top 6 that you kind of have to focus on and really the starters.
Yeah,
Uh, but I
sorry.
got Zach, I got to think like unless one of them gets like a really nice offer to stay and play for Graves, I think all 5 of them know that their value is really, really high. The question is because they had one of the most prolific offenses in the country with these teammates, with this system, they're not necessarily going to go translate somewhere else and put up those same numbers, right?
Right. That's the real interesting part. And I truly have no idea what's about to happen. I do know that apparently, according to reports, that Graves will meet with the team Monday,
Hmm.
tomorrow, today. And then they will decide the what's gonna happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Players will make their decisions at that point. What's your do should we predict or just avoid looking like idiots?
Predictions predictions are a risky move, but yeah, Zach, I gotta think this is gonna be a mass, maybe not mass exodus. Maybe there's a few guys who really have nice relationships with Graves. They like what they hear from Indiana State's NIL collective or whatever, and they opt to stay, right? And be a local hero or whatever. But look, I don't think these guys can quite pass up the NIL jump that they're going to get from hitting the portal, whether that's going to SLU or going somewhere else. I'm almost more interested to see how their careers play out, given that they all put up such good numbers at Indiana State in his system. it's really hard to translate that into another coach's system. So I to me, in terms of their playing career, the least risky move is to go with Schertz or stay with Graves. Anything else is really going to be an impossible to know situation. They're just going to be jumping for purely NIL money at that point. Um, no, I hope the rumor's true and he's going to bring four starters with him. I would love that. I think that would be fantastic. What we've seen at VCU, Utah State, and now Louisville with Kelsey going to Louisville. We've seen a lot of coaches able to bring two guys with them. Usually they're top two, sometimes number two and three if the top guys got a higher NIL value to take care of or whatever. But it seems like two is the most common number. So I think you could maybe high end hope for the whole starting lineup, low end maybe two, and maybe we wind up with three or four. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're absolute like it. The one interesting thing to me, like I would say, sit here and tell you that Avila and Swope are no brainers. But I could also tell you that Avila has a brand. That guy's a brand. I
He sure
mean,
is. Yeah.
he's gonna get NIL money. And don't get me wrong, the guy can play ball, but he's gonna get NIL money much more than he's worth as a basketball player.
Hmm.
He's just that much of an icon, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I can't wait for like 20 years down the road, like people are talking about him like a sex icon.
He's when you're one of the most unique looking players in the country, that's just it's marketable. And when you're a center who leads your team in scoring and has an inside out game, I mean, there's just everything about him is really just enjoyable to fans, and he's super marketable for that reason. I mean, like I saw he has a deal with the White Sox, the Chicago White
Yes.
Sox, because
He
he's a Chicago
has
area kid.
he has t-shirt deal with Barstool. His dad was wearing the Viva Avila shirt at the NIT final. I think his mom might have been wearing the other one,
Yeah.
his other shirt. So again, like, and that would be amazing. Like, I know there are a ton of people that could give a shit about Barstool, but like to have that in I know,
Yeah.
and yeah, but like again, to have your school on regardless of where it is in a national store as merchandise, like that's huge. That's big for the
Yes,
university. So
it
he
is.
does he brings marketability to whatever program he goes to. So I mean, dude, he's gonna make a lot of money in the portal.
Yeah, and I think when you talk to people about like which one of the five actually they would prioritize the most, I know there are people who say Conwell. I know Swope, Kent, Larry, they're all really attractive players for one reason or another. I think actually Kent, if I'm going to go with one of them, I feel the most confident about. He's actually been liking posts about Schertz at SLU, so that to me is a good sign, right? Or
Yes.
else he's just the most genuinely nice guy in the world who's just happy for his coach. But to me that is a pretty good sign. So look, Avila's obviously the one who is the most marketable out of them, but all five are really, I would take all five without hesitation. The question, Zach, is so beyond that, like I said about the bench, I don't know. I'll leave that up to those guys. They're obviously not going to command much on the NIL market. So it's a matter of whether Schertz wants to bring him, or Schertz needs to bring him or not, and we'll see. But another question I have is he's got three signed high school players,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really a big open question to me, right? Like what do you do with those three guys? I haven't heard anything about what they're doing yet, but just to give you a quick breakdown on these guys, in case he is able to bring them over. Robert Sean Birmingham, 6'8", 185. He's kind of a combo forward, originally from Iceland. Even though his name doesn't sound like it, I don't know his whole background yet. But he went to a basketball academy in Spain and then two different schools in the U.S. Currently, one in North Carolina. Good shooter and playmaker. He's able to block shots because he's so long. All of his offers were in 2023. Wake Forest, Charlotte, Davidson, who by the way would love him, Jacksonville State, George Mason, Mercer, East Tennessee, Bradley, Morehead State, East Carolina, to give you an idea of kind of where he was. Wake Forest is the power conference outlier there. The other guys are Merritt Alderink, 6'7", 215, kind of a conventional power forward. Workhorse. He doesn't put up huge numbers, little bit of versatility. He's the first D1 player from his high school in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. His other offers were Chattanooga, Miami, Ohio, Kent State, Morehead State, William and Mary, Illinois State, Eastern and Western Michigan, Toledo, Oakland. So you're seeing a lot of Horizon and Mac and Valley offers there. And then the other one is Christian Nitu, who's 6'11", 200. He's a front court player from the Toronto area, projected as a power conference prospect early, and then his stock kind of cooled a little bit. And I wonder how much of that was affected by just how power conference teams recruit now, right? Not so much from high school. People have posted about him more than the others on our message board and social media feeds since this question was first asked. And he may still end up being the best long-term prospect, but he's probably kind of a long-term project as a college player just because he's so long and skinny. Really skilled. He looks like he'd be a nice fit for Schertz's system. He was offered by TCU and Washington State all the way back in 2021, Pitt, Mississippi State, Santa Clara, and Eastern Michigan in 2022, and then Long Island and Coastal Carolina in 2023. All three of these guys, by the way, signed with Indiana State in November of 2023. So that's who he's got signed. Does he bring all three? Does he bring one, two? I have no idea. Maybe they want to go back out on the open market. Not sure. But I have to think, Zach, that he's recruiting guys to his system, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Christian Nitu.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is being followed by Boisvert
Okay. That's
on Twitter.
see again. I haven't had time to do a lot of the the more
sleuthing
forensic research on a lot of this stuff yet. I'm going to this week. Don't worry about that. I will, but haven't gotten there yet.
Do you think can you imagine a world where like online forensics become a thing? Like I can't wait for that to be like a major.
Oh, it's all. I mean,
it's got to be. I mean,
it's not an official thing yet, but yeah,
it's part of forensics.
Yeah,
but like online sleuthing becomes a
the whole like, true crime genre is built on that, Zach.
I am still looking back at like college when like Facebook creeping, like even going on someone's page that you didn't know was a little sketchy. Like you felt a little dirty doing it. But and to now it's insane. I can't believe it. I guess the coaches right now, we kind of know what's about to happen. Tate, go ahead and run through them. I mean, I don't think any of them are going to be kept around. I don't think
Tate,
you think
Thomas,
that
Nunez, Dzagwa, Lewis, Courtney, Kudrowski. I mean, maybe some of the staffers who are not the three main assistant coaches, right? Tate, Harriman is already gone. Thomas, I don't think we know what he's doing yet, right?
Wait, Harriman?
No, Charles Thomas.
Oh, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Harriman's a college.
Harriman we'll get to in a second.
Oh,
but, and then you've got Christian Nunez, the director of player development, Thomas Dzagwa, who's director of basketball operations, Brad Lewis, video and analytics coordinator, and then your senior graduate managers are Brandon Courtney and Jordan Kudrowski. Those guys, I don't know. Sometimes they hang around. Sometimes it's good to have those kind of guys in the building who know the lay of the land, they know the culture, they know things like that. And they're not one of your three top assistants. They're not recruiting assistants. So you don't really know yet with those kind of guys. I do think the writing's on the wall for I know people speculated about Tate, but I don't think it's happening. If we're already hearing the names of 4 different assistants rumored to be on their way, I can't see it happening for Tate.
Yeah, I think, like a grad assistant position, like a Brandon Courtney. If he wants it, I don't even know. But I think that's really all that would be left.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is a profession where you have to keep your resume updated at all times. And you have to know when you get into this profession that you're going to be moving a lot. And I know I think Courtney is a guy who got recently engaged, and Zagwa too. I think two of those guys, two of
Yeah.
those staffers recently engaged. I think it just is one of those things that you tell your partner, your spouse, your girlfriend, whoever you're with, like this is a fluid situation at all times. You can't get too comfortable everywhere because the nature of this profession, especially for assistants, is that you just move around a lot. It's the way it is.
Um, the existing SLU players, and this is going to be interesting.
Mhm.
We have the current non-portalers are Larry Hughes, Kellen Thames, George Churchich, Bradley Azuero, Abu Magasa, and then the walk-ons.
Mhm.
I would imagine we'd keep the walk-ons. I mean, I
Maybe,
don't
yeah.
know.
I don't know.
What do you think? What do you see?
So look, it really depends on how many guys he's able to bring with him from Indiana State. I don't know what we're gonna. The really open question is what we get from the portal that's not from this group that's already at SLU or SLU's guys who have entered the portal, and then the Indiana State guys. There's still going to be some third component of outsiders. It's just a question of how significant that is. Because I think if I could just take these two rosters and build my team, which would be a lot of fun to do, by the way, that would be ideal, right? Because there's a few guys I'd hang on to and then bring the starters over from Indiana State, and you would have an incredible team. That would be an expensive team. You might need $2.5, $3 million to do it in this current market. But that would be a team that would win the A10 immediately,
Yeah.
and they'd be a blast to watch. So it's a question of how much we're willing to spend. I may have to go over to the BVF and kick in a few bucks myself to help. Not that it's really going to move the needle, but yeah, Zach, that's a big open question. Who would I keep out of those? Kellen Thames, I think is such a high upside guy. I'd have a hard time not keeping him. And then honestly, Churchich might be a sneaky good get for the money, right?
Yeah.
Because like the NIL for him is low.
It's
And
non-existent.
it's not like he's put up the kind of numbers that would justify higher NIL elsewhere, right? So if I could retain him and Thames out of the guys who are not in the portal, Hughes, as much as it's hard to say, like I, yeah, maybe you hang on to him. I don't know what the situation is there, but I don't
I
know
mean,
about
preferred
his upside as much.
walk-on. I mean,
I don't think he's going to
back.
go. I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to go back. No, he's a scholarship player now, right?
Um,
So that's a tougher conversation because of his dad, because he's a local dude, and NIL is not as important to a guy whose father made $80 million over his career before endorsements. And then Abu Magasa, we haven't seen yet. Azuero, you hear rumors about him being kind of a malcontent, and kind of in the mix in some of the more tense situations during the season. I don't know about all
not
of
the
that,
best
but
defensive, not the best shoot. He doesn't shoot well.
well,
He doesn't.
that was
Yeah.
going to be my next point is I don't see him as a Schertz player at all.
Uh,
So that's one to me. Like I know it would be his yet another transfer from him for him, but I don't know how you hang on to him.
Also, just a heads up, we did not make this graphic. We did not get on it. There's a bunch of tweets, and ours were not one of them. And I feel upset that this tweet did not make the graphic.
Our
So
our
I
our
got,
sex bot parody tweet did not
yes,
make it. The
yeah, I got
official.
problems.
All right. Well, as Zach is getting distracted by his phone,
Yes,
I also want to let people know we
this
haven't
is
said.
the most interesting part of the whole thing, I think. What you're about to get into.
Well, are you talking about the guys who are already in the portal for SLU?
Oh, no, I was talking about the recruit.
No, that he's next. I haven't gotten to these
Okay.
guys yet because Bruce Zhang entered the portal this week, joining Jimerson, Medley, Parker, and Von Bussel. We got a report that Parker, by the way, needs surgery that's going to keep him out of action until about October, which is really going to impact his transfer prospects and NIL value. Even with that, I don't think he's coming back to SLU.
No.
But Bruce, I think is a little bit better fit than Brad. in terms of Schertz's system, but I don't think he's coming back. I don't know out of those guys who can come back. Jimerson, I would love to have back.
I would love to have him back.
He's going to cost a ton, though. He's just going to be really expensive to retain. If he came back, he would break every record in SLU's record book.
Yes.
He's already broken a few,
And
but
he might break a rebounding record while he's in there.
I mean, just for being around in
Yes.
6 seasons. So
he'd be the first Billiken to register a rebound in 6 different seasons.
it would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So out of those guys, he's the one I would want back. But I don't know if that's going to happen. He's just going to be really expensive. So let's get to the one that's really interesting, Zach. I'm sorry, I started to read this guy's name. Jaquavis Williford, who is at Middlebrooks Academy in Southern California, is the only player that SLU signed in the fall out of high school. He's an intriguing prospect, but really what makes him intriguing, he was offered by Indiana State.
Yeah.
So we were 2 schools that were in the mid. Now, they weren't in his top 3. The other 2 were UNLV and Oregon State at the time, but Indiana State was one of his offers. And so we know it was this staff that offered him. That's a really interesting question. If you're Williford, who had stayed committed to SLU, by the way, reading his social media posts throughout the season, he was like, basically saying, like, I don't care what's going on there right now. I'm committed. I'm excited to come in there and help change things. Coaching change happens. Now what? That's really, really an interesting question. And from Schertz's perspective too, from both of their sides.
Yeah, I would be very interested to find out. Like, I want to know. I mean, obviously we all want to know what the hell is going on, but like, this is a very, very interesting scenario. And I mean, I would imagine he's got it signed. If Schertz still wants him, I would imagine he's ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like, and by the way, I would take him. And if I'm going to go ahead, like, on the fly and build an ideal roster right here, we'll take the 5 starters from Indiana State, right?
Yes, we will.
We'll take Williford to make it 6. Jimerson makes it 7. Thames and Churchich,
$500,000 in NIL.
8, 9. Right, 8, 9. And then take the 3 guys that he signed for Indiana State. So that gets you up to 12. And now you've got 1 scholarship to play with. I
Give me
honestly,
Van Bussell back.
Okay, there you go. So now we've built a roster just out of Indiana State and SLU in 20 seconds. And that would be a team that would crush the A-10 next season.
The St. Louis State Billikens.
Yeah. For 1 season only, they would be magnificent. And then they would have to then they would ease into something more permanent after that. But for 1 season, that combined team would be a heck of a lot of fun.
I think we need to drop some credit here. And I don't really want to, but I'm going to.
You need to do it first, Zach, I think. I
think the point really is, like, Chris May put this athletic department in a major bind. For first of all, bringing in Ford, and then, obviously, making that extension auto extend after an automatic bid NCAA tournament appearance, when it probably should have been an at-large contingent auto extend. But which is funny that we finally figured out what the hell all of the conjecture about that contract really probably was. Where we learned about the auto extend clause for a tournament. Right. And that's what people meant by it auto extends, it's just funny. But anyway, I think for a lot of things, like, this is the cleaning up of a mess that Chris May made, and I May has had a hand in that, but and there are a bunch of other players, but for Chris May to kind of, he could have doubled down and said, look, like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to run this search. Like, but I mean, obviously he would have been telling off boosters, I'm sure, but again, he could have walked away. He could have pulled a Cheryl Levick and resigned.
Mhm.
because he was gone over to get a different basketball coach, to fire a coach. I'm sorry, I don't know if she was involved with Majerus, but I know she wasn't necessarily involved in firing. She didn't want to fire Soderbergh.
Mhm.
So, I mean, he could have walked away and left this department in turmoil,
Mhm.
much like Indiana State. And we would have had not really no real guiding force for the boosters, which would have been, you got to have a glue person, and apparently, if he's that glue, we need the glue guy. Yeah, kudos to him for kind of swallowing his pride and uh coming together with a bunch of different parties. It sounds like they asked a lot of people. They got a lot of opinions, and but at the same time, they did an impressive job of targeting the donors, the school, the athletic department did an impressive job of targeting their guy, lining him up, and then holding the line.
Mhm.
As his team kept playing, and other schools may have been reaching out. They showed a lot of balls.
This was we've said it before, but this was the better part of a month that it took from them being like, this is our guy, all right, like we've got him, and yes, we looked at other candidates, we did what we're supposed to do, but this is the one, and like you said, lined him up, and then did not flinch. They had a lot of opportunities throughout this to get a little nervous, to blink first, as they say in some of these situations. Um, Louisville walked right up to the line. We know Florida Atlantic would have loved to land him. There are plenty of other schools that would have reached out to his agent throughout this whole thing, and to SLU's credit, they did not budge. And I've been so impressed by them, because how many times over the years have you and I gotten frustrated that they've made a panic move, or just not really had enough foresight or whatever. So impressive this time around in not budging and coming through, getting their guy in the end. It's been an incredible job on SLU's part. Everybody, donors, school, athletic department, top to bottom, great job. They got it done.
I think we need a hat tip, by the way, to our guy Chris Allen, for no reason other than um, he he clued us into the idea that all bald guys look alike, and I can't tell you how many people have said a different person that Josh Schertz looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've got the Rick Majerus, you've got Rick from Pawn Stars, Rick
I've
Harrison.
never seen it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. You
Sorry.
did not for the love of God. But I mean, I just think it is funny that Josh Schertz has gotten so many comparisons to just other bald guys.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And if some of the coaches that he's bringing in, we think he might bring in, actually come, there might be a few more on the sideline as well, which is pretty funny.
Also, the name Josh, I still don't take it like an adult's name. Like to me, that's not an adult's name. It's just funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. It does seem like I don't know many who are like older than me necessarily, although Schertz himself, I guess, is about 7 years older than me. So
That's what I see.
it's getting
I would have
close.
never guessed that, but not like, but more so that I thought he looked relatively. Yeah, but he also did have a period of his life where he looked like Bruce Boudreau, the hockey coach.
Oh,
There's a picture of him, and I don't know how much he
I
actually
don't
looked like him, or it was the suit, the boxy suit,
I don't
and
know if that's the
like,
most flattering
no, it's
comparison, but
not. I'm sorry. It was it's a tough photo, Josh, tough photo. Um, the coaching carousel though, while the Billikens have landed on their what's the wedge in Wheel of Fortune, the million. They've
mhm.
hit the million in Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Some other schools have also believe they found the guy they want to helm their program.
Yeah, so these are we probably should have gone over this in kind of like the lead up this week, right? To like the other vacancies that we've always kind of been keeping a little bit of an eye on. But David Riley went to Washington State. That's one that's been open for a little bit. Ben McCullum this is a big one. He went to Drake from Northwest Missouri State. We thought he was going to go to Missouri State, and then he ended up going to Drake, which is honestly a much I would rather go there as well. Andy Enfield went to SMU from USC. And then Eric Musselman went to USC from Arkansas. So now Arkansas is the big one that's open. Chris Beard is staying at Ole Miss. Jerome Tang is staying at K-State. Those were two of the ones identified as, candidates that they reached out to. I don't know about Will Wade. That's one that people keep talking about, but for some reason, a lot of these schools are not budging yet. I wonder if he just needs a little more time on the sort of reputational side of things. I don't know. In my opinion, I think his time is up. But all pretty interesting moves this week, Zach. And now people are trying to will Calipari to Arkansas into existence, but I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that one's gonna happen.
It is an absolute bizarre situation down there in Arkansas. I know there's rumors that like Chris or not Chris Beard, Musselman basically finessed the whole situation over
Yes.
there at USC.
Yeah, I guess the rumor being that Musselman has some, is it his sister who's married to a major donor at SMU and convinced them to let go of their existing coach, maybe implying that he would take the job. And then what all that did was, uh, get Andy Enfield to go take the job instead. So then Musselman could go take the USC job, which is what he wanted in the first place. Whether he is that much of a mastermind and a maniac, I don't know for sure, but it's a pretty fun rumor nonetheless.
Jesus. Chris Harriman's heading to Charleston to work under Chris Mack. This is a really I'm first of all I'm super excited to see Harriman get an opportunity on a staff that's just starting out. That's a fresh start. It's a stable position. He's been at a lot of universities that haven't had great basketball success lately. Before he got there, I mean, Cal was not doing well before he got there. Nebraska still hasn't won an NCAA tournament game in their history, if you can believe that.
Mhm.
So I think look, Harriman I thought did a fantastic job. He was brought in because we couldn't recruit. We weren't doing well in the portal. He got guys from overseas that he took risks. I mean, he took risks on Magassa, Van Bussel, and Churches even being eligible. So, he did his best to fill out the roster, and then obviously I saw so much out of him on that sideline. He
Mhm.
was always teaching, always coaching. So, I really think he's going to kill it down there for Mac at Charleston.
Yeah, I agree. And Mac's building a serious staff down there. He just
It's
got
crazy.
McCall, who used to be the UMass coach, and
He's
no matter
building a
what
Rick Majerus staff.
he has, no matter what you think about McCall, or Harriman for that matter, but obviously we both really like him. This is the kind of staff that is ready to move up quickly, right? Like that's a power conference core right there that Mac is putting together, and I know it's not done yet, and I'm sure he'll add another nice piece, but it seems like Charleston's pretty serious, and it seems like Mac's pretty serious about his return. Because I do think, I mean, Harriman's a high character guy too, right? And Mac obviously left Louisville in a storm of a really rough scandal there. So the fact that he's coming back around with guys who might be a little more upright, I think is probably the right call too. So he's gonna come back the right way. And yeah, obviously you and I both really wish Harriman the best of luck down there. I think he's gonna do a great job.
Um, Hey, let's just get right into it. Let's talk two men in a garden.
Yeah, Zach, let's. And your mom actually inspired me because you
Don't
talked.
call keep my mother mom's name out your mouth.
She's lovely. Chris. I mean, like she should be a saint already.
Don't call
By now. Just for having you, Zach.
True. She gifted me to the world. You're welcome,
I
everybody.
mean, I mean the ongoing
Oh,
having of
okay.
you,
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry.
the tolerating of you
Oh, okay. No, you're right about that too.
for both of those reasons.
Yes.
But no, you said she had gotten those last week. You said she had gotten those spicy pickles, and I put in an order this week and got my box and everything, and that was the first jar I opened, and I got to say, manageable amount of heat on those. Right, I recommend
She
them.
said it was a little bit beyond manageable, I believe, for
Interesting.
her.
Okay,
For
so
her.
she's got a lower a threshold, but for me that's good because it keeps my kids out of them, right?
That's
So
true.
like anything that I can snack on that they're not going to steal from me is a positive in my opinion. So get over to 2minutegarden.com, put in your order for some spicy pickles, and in honor of what we're just about to talk about, the women's basketball team, which I can't believe we're still talking about in April, a week into April. Use the code Julia, one word Julia, and that 9.99 nationwide shipping comes off your order. So as long as that order or that code is active, go use it. It's still active.
Yes.
I can vouch for it. And Joel from 2 Minute a Garden just vouched for it as well.
Yes.
Julia, still active, 2minuteagarden.com. Go put it in order now. You won't regret it.
That's friend of the show, Julia Martinez's code.
Yeah.
And by the way, also friends of the show, her lovely parents, who I got to see for the really and stop and talk to for the first time since I met her mother at SLU High School for the All-Star game she played in before her freshman
Oh,
year.
wow. That's awesome.
So it was great to see that. But anyway, let's talk about the game.
Yeah, well, we gotta back up first,
Oh, we
Zach, because
do. We
they
had more
won
than one game in a week.
they won two games before the game that you actually encountered her parents at it
Unbelievable.
again. Incredible, yeah. And the first one was a Big Ten victory. It was a 65-60 win at Wisconsin on Monday the 1st. Like a lot of these NIT games, Zach, it wasn't pretty, but it was a win.
Yes, it was, and it was a win I predicted. Actually, to be honest, at what point did I just say they were going to win this whole tournament? Was it the
What
Fab Four? Was it after this game?
it no, I don't remember when you said it the first time. I really don't. I think it was it during the Wisconsin game? It may
It
have been
might have
before
been.
it.
Yeah, it was either before it or during it, I think.
Man.
Maybe it was right after the Wisconsin star Sarah Williams went down with an injury about a minute into the game. I obviously said before it, I said we were going to win that game, and
Yeah.
then you said was your premonition
Yeah.
that Sarah Williams would go down with an
Yeah,
injury.
because if you saw her going down, I mean that definitely was the difference maker. We talked about it before the game. We were like, they're kind of a one player team. Like,
Yep.
no disrespect to everybody else on that team, but like it goes through her, right? And it still wound up being a close game without her in it. SLU outscored Wisconsin 17-13 in the first quarter, 13-9 in the second. Again, low scoring, not pretty. They managed to maintain that narrow lead until a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then Wisconsin tied it twice and took a 1 point lead with 119 remaining. And I just thought, like, oh no, is this the point in the season where they finally run out of gas? Because I was actually this is kind of the inverse of how we felt about a lot of these NIT games where you talk about giving up on them too early, and then all they do in the second half is charge back and win. In this game, I was like, oh, early on when she went down and when they won each of the first two quarters, I thought, kind of think we've got this one. But then Wisconsin never really gave up.
No, they didn't. Again, they traded leads with free throws for SLU and a layup for Wisconsin. And then, of course, Peyton Kennedy, who it was on an absolute tear,
Mhm.
put SLU up 61-60 with 53 seconds left. Julia Martinez, holy shit.
These steals.
What? Like, these are the kind of steals that if she screws this up, we are sitting here like, what are you doing? But
Mhm.
no, I mean the stones to go like she just kind of it's so weird that they don't see this coming because she'll literally just go up and take it from them.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
not like she
absolutely.
tipped the ball away. I think she literally just went up and was like, "This is mine. I'm walking away with it."
That was the first one, and then the second one, she actually read the pass, and like it was like an interception, right? It was like a strong safety hitting, hitting that, timing it perfectly, and then hitting the
Yeah.
sideline all the way down. And so both of them were so impressive. The first one resulted in free throws for Tiara Simon, who hit one of two, and then the second steal was the bigger one, I think. And then McMakin ended up with it and made both of her two free throws. So not only does she end up with those steals, she burned some clock, and then she put McMakin, one of our best free throw shooters, on the line. So that second one was just brilliant all around. Wisconsin missed another shot on some solid defense from Brooklyn Gray. She got the rebound, hit one more free throw, and that was it. But Zach, I think we got to get back to why this game overall was kind of ugly.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the slash line. And these were not uh 407, 267, 765. The Billikens did not make a field goal for an 8-minute stretch in the fourth quarter. Agonizing 8-minute stretch.
Terrible.
From 1913 or 913 all the way down to 105 or 105. Basically it didn't need to be this close. Peyton Kennedy, this was one of the few games where she didn't really have it. 6 of 16 from the field, 1 of 7 from three, 15 points to go with 7 rebounds. When you're going to win in tournament play, though, you need other players to step up. McMakin had 18 points, going 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 6 from the line. Kennedy Calhoun had 10 points, 4 assists, and 6 steals. Pete, what I've noticed in this, like, I never really noticed how many steals the Billikens forced,
Yeah.
and then how many held balls they forced.
Yeah, that's right. And those are the ones that don't really hit the stat sheet, right? Because only half of them go your way. They really create a lot of chaos between those two guards.
They called tie-ups really quick in women's basketball, I'm noticing. Let's see. Martinez, triple nickel, 6, 7, 5, 2, 2 steals, 3 turnovers. Tiara Simon, she was going to be the solution to Sarah Williams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they started her, but we didn't get that matchup, right? Because Williams went down. But Simon still ended up with 7 points and 8 rebounds. Just a solid game. What you'd want out of her.
No, I think this team, the key, I think, has really been Tiara Simon, and Tiara Simon staying out of foul trouble. This team she is the closest thing they have to a true replacement for Brooke Flowers. So she had been, the front court of the Billikens has been going as Tiara Simon did. She had 4 turnovers. Kennedy Calhoun did, had 10 points, 4 assists, and 6 steals. She also had 4 turnovers. She and Martinez kind of just have free roam to kind of whip the ball around. And sometimes that results in beauty. Sometimes that results in some ugliness.
They can make things. Yeah, you're right. They can really frustrate you sometimes offensively, but defensively they create enough chaos to really make things interesting. And luckily that worked in this game against Wisconsin.
Let's get to the Vermont game sponsored by Ben and Jerry's ice cream. No free ads. Ben and Jerry's is overrated. I don't even eat ice cream. I
Of course you don't.
can't. I'm allergic. Anyway, 57, not that anybody cares. 57-54 win at Vermont Wednesday the 3rd. Yeah, they decided to give us a little more gray hair in this one.
Yeah, they decided the win at Wisconsin just wasn't ugly enough, I think.
This was absolutely insane.
I turned the game on at halftime and I saw the score was 24-17 and texted you. I was like, is this real or is my app broken? And the unfortunate reality is it is real. It was real. 13-11 SLU after the first quarter, so it's already kind of a grinder. And then SLU scored just 4 points in the second, managed to hold Vermont to 13, so it wasn't completely out of hand. I don't know what Tillett said at halftime, Zach, but like you said, she's a master of mid-game adjustments. And SLU scored 24 in the third, holding Vermont to 13 again. Thank God this one didn't get away from them.
This game was one of the more bizarre games I've ever watched
Mhm.
because there were so many missed opportunities. Like, and I'm not talking about the normal women's basketball, uh, a big crowd scrum under the hoop. It's a far distance. They can, it's harder to miss or easier to miss. I'm talking about like point blank open layups on both sides that were just completely missed. I think what one of the players on Vermont missed like three easy layups in a row in the same possession.
Mm.
They just kept
Yeah,
getting the offensive
they
rebound.
did have a lot of those, right?
It was awful. And SLU was also, a victim of really, really poor
Yeah,
misses.
absolutely.
But yeah, this game was super ugly, especially in that second half or second
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah, and then Vermont got to within two in the middle of the fourth quarter. It was 48 to 46, the media timeout. Luckily, SLU rattled off the next 6 points. Vermont pulled to within four after a turnover, and then they traded baskets. Down this sack is something I will never understand. Down four with 47 seconds left, Vermont decided not to foul SLU.
Disaster.
SLU didn't score because Brooklyn Gray had the ball last in possession. She airballed a three that she had to take as the shot clock wore out, but they drained basically the entire 30 seconds, right? So now Vermont is down four with 17 seconds. They missed a shot 6 seconds later, got a steal and missed again, and then they had to start fouling. But the reason that this is extra stupid not to foul that first time, they had three fouls to give. So by the time SLU gets to the free throw line, there's 4 seconds left. Brooklyn Gray hits one of two, and then SLU just lets Vermont score at the buzzer because the game's been decided. 57-54, game over. And Vermont fans are like, what was that? What was that? Like a grade school coach would know how to handle that end of game situation. I have no idea what their coach was thinking.
It was bizarre, and I kind of, at first I was like, at first I was like, well, yeah, okay, no foul, and then the announcers are even like, I don't know what's going on here. You have to foul there. You only got three fouls to give. Do something, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. The clock was their enemy at that point, and they just
Um,
led to beat them.
it was a master class in halftime adjustments from Rebecca Tillett and like I said, an absolute disaster class by the Vermont head coach.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't said her name yet, but Peyton Kennedy was the star again. 23 points on 10 of 13 shooting. Absolutely needed every one of those shots. Brooklyn Gray had 13. Tierra Simon had 14 rebounds. She SLU out rebounded Vermont by 8 overall. This game, it was sicko stuff. It made no sense. But SLU got the win, and that's what matters. And a little fun note, Zach, Kyla McMakin became the all-time minutes leader in women's basketball during this game. She has never missed a game in her career. That's something that I knew going into the NIT. I'd heard that throughout this season. Every once in a while it would come up and like Colin Surrey or somebody would say it. Never has missed a game. And I never thought about that though, the fact that she might actually be able to break that record. But with the COVID bonus year and this season going on so long, she's now the all-time leader in minutes played, and that's wild.
Yeah, 5 years of college basketball. She played 30 games. First year at Longwood, 25. She started every game of her college career.
Hmm.
Every game she played, she started 30 in her first year, 25 in her second, 34 in her third, 35 last year, and then 40 this year. Billikens played
Incredible.
40 games this year. Uh, the fewest minutes she played was 886, obviously, that second season. She has scored, and then I mean, just the numbers in this are off the charts, crazy. Yeah, wild.
Yeah, I don't know if it will because so here's the thing. She played 5 full seasons. That's 163 games. Some reason ESPN says there was one game at Longwood she didn't start. So 164 games, if their stats are right, 34.6 minutes per game. So when you're playing that many minutes per game over 5 full years, yeah, that's gonna rack it up.
Yeah. I have 164 on Sports Reference. That's my go-to.
I think that's probably the better one. I was looking at ESPN.
Let's get into the final, man.
Yeah, let's do it, Zach. And this was a great game. This one threw the narrative out of every other game they'd played in the NIT. It wasn't, from our perspective, ugly. It didn't require major halftime adjustments to turn around the momentum or anything like that. It was a game where SLU took the early lead and just built and built and built over the course, and they got the 69-50 win over Minnesota at SIUE on Saturday the 6th for the WNIT title. And Zach was in the house with his mom, who's getting a lot of love on this episode.
Yes.
Zach, what was the experience?
I'll get the bad out of the way first.
All right.
I had to watch it with my mom. No, I'm just kidding. No, the concession stand situation was an absolute nightmare. They did not expect that many people to show up. The workers did the best they could. I think they ran out of water in the fourth quarter late or right before the fourth quarter started.
Wow.
I was only able to get like beer twice at the start of the first and then the start of the fourth, or right before the start of the fourth. But yeah, it was great. It was the Billiken fans were loud and into the game, and it was kind of fun to have so many Minnesota fans in attendance and be able to kind of cheer the Billikens and have them kind of have to just take it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
no, it was it was a celebration of Billiken women's basketball, and it was a hell of a game.
The attendance was listed at 1545 in the box score. And it's crazy because all year long I've been looking at the men's basketball attendance figures with an eyebrow raised in complete skepticism because like I know what 10,600 seats looks like, and I know what roughly fraction of people are in there, and it was just always overstated. But 1,545 seems low.
I think it is.
I mean, because it's a 4,000 capacity gym, and it looked at least half filled. I don't know.
Yes. I mean, uh, unless you're talking about um it, unless the seats on the upper level just add that many seats,
Mm,
um I don't know.
yeah. Okay. Well, regardless, everyone who was there was loud. The crowd sounded great on the broadcast. They looked great on every camera angle you could see. I mean, it was just a really impressive showing from SLU fans. And if you told me we're going to get over 1,500 people at this game and the concession stands are going to run out at SIUE because they weren't expecting more than half of that, I would have been thrilled, Zach, with that. And I think SLU fans really delivered in this one, and luckily so did the team. Earl told us, Zach, when you cornered him,
Yes. Sorry,
SLU
Earl.
SLU needed to avoid the slow start we've been seeing from them lately, and they absolutely did. They led 16-9 after the first quarter. They built on that quarter. They outscored Minnesota by 5 in the second, took a 33-21 lead into halftime after Julia Martinez, of all people, hit a three at the buzzer, only her eighth of the season. The lead was 54-32 after the third quarter. I think that was their biggest lead of the game, 22 points, if memory serves. And yeah, they wound up winning by 19. The lead just continued to grow until they cleared the bench with a few minutes left, which kind of shrunk that 22 down. But that's who cares. Um, and Zach, like we said before, Peyton Kennedy, MVP of the tournament. She had 19 points and 5 rebounds in this game, and she was great.
Yeah, she really was. All of the Billikens hit the threes in this game when it mattered.
Yeah,
I
they
think
did.
I think the three ball was huge for us in this game, just from the context of uh when we needed one, if Minnesota went down and made a little, decided to get a little energy, maybe score a bucket or two. The Billikens were right behind them with a three. And
Mhm.
Kennedy was certainly a big part of that. That drop pass from Martinez was to her and Kyla McMakin, who led the Billikens in scoring with 20 points, 8 of 18 shooting, 2 of 4 from three. And of course, extending her record for minutes played. Um, I mean, Martinez got 6 assists, and I would say most of them were on threes. I don't think there was a single backdoor cut in this one. Like it was
No,
all just 3-point shooting.
yeah, they were getting what they wanted on the perimeter. 11 of 24 overall for the team. And lately we've not really seen a lot of 3-point shooting for them, right? I mean, like there have
Yeah.
been recent games where we're seeing like 4 for 8, 5 of 9, 3 of 11. Like they're just it's not that they're not making a good percentage, they're just not shooting a whole lot of them. So it was really interesting to kind of see that be ultimately the deciding factor, I think, in this game. If you're going to take one statistical category, it would be that 3-point shooting. And it came from everybody. You know, when Julia Martinez hits one, which she only does in what, 20% of their games, that's a sign that things are going well from three. Ken Calhoun added 11 points, Brooklyn Gray with 8 and 5. Zach, I thought SLU's defense was great in this game. They forced 20 turnovers. They held Minnesota to 34% shooting from the field, 17% from three. It seemed like the Gophers were just frustrated.
Yeah, I really I was shocked at the inept nature of both the Gopher offense and the Gopher defense. I thought, the Billiken defense was great inside. I thought they did really well at doubling the post and reaching in on the bigs and getting steals from those Minnesota bigs. And yeah, Minnesota just really couldn't get anything going. They got hesitant, I think, to put the ball inside, and settled for a lot of bad 3-point attempts, a lot of quick 3-point attempts, and I had no clue what they were trying to do. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, defensively, I mean this it reminded me of the SLU men last year. I at one point I'm gonna call out my own heckle here. Not my Lindsay heckle, but a heckle that I had. But at one point we were shooting free throws and one of the Minnesota fans yelled really loud as she was shooting it and we missed it. And I just yelled from across the court, "That's the best defense you guys have played all night."
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting right next to Hargrove. Hargrove was sitting on the other side of the aisle from us on like he was on the corner.
Oh, cool.
We were sitting right on the end of the right across from the Minnesota bench on the end. So yeah, it was
Very
good.
nice. Yeah.
Um dude, I just have no idea what this Minnesota team once they went down looked like they were ready to hit the beaches.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had heard that they were a little dinged up. I think I had
Yes.
heard Wisconsin was a little dinged up. So I know we beat multiple Big Ten teams. I know there were some injuries, but like you still win the games that you're presented with, right? That's all you can do, and take the win, go with it. This was SLU's 40th game of the season too, right? Like that's the most ever played by a men's or women's team in SLU history. An incredible ride that we didn't expect, right? When the women's season ended, they had a losing record, the regular season and conference tournament. When that ended, we said, well, we've got a lot of men's basketball stuff to talk about. We'll circle back. We'll kind of do a season recap for women's basketball. We had no idea they were going to get this invite, and all they do is go win 6 more games. It's just an incredible performance for them, and I'm really impressed by what they've done. It's really funny, Zach, when you look at Tillett's postseason record, she's now 11-2. When you look at what her teams have done in conference tournament, NCAA tournament, and now the WNIT in the past 2 seasons since she's been here, and she has a losing record in the regular season, which I thought is pretty interesting, and would love to see that sort of I don't know, these postseason victories. I'm hoping this is what really gets her some more wins on the recruiting trail, right? Because I think her next job is to really upgrade the talent profile here. She needs
Mhm.
shooting, she needs athleticism, she needs size. Those are the
She
things that
needs
are
Haley
really
Van
gonna
Lith.
uh go get her. Go get her. Um
Ah,
anyway, I think that this is a nice cultural thing. I think it's a nice momentum thing. I love all the positive vibes over the weekend from the coaching hire, and then this. People really have responded to this well, and we got some nice local media attention too.
yeah, we did. But I think I wonder how much of this 11-2 postseason record versus the losing record in the regular season is that one bid league mentality.
Hmm.
And I don't mean that as in a bad way. I mean it is, you know, obviously the A10 is a one bid league. It's been that way the majority of the years. It's much more of a Missouri Valley on the men's side. Uh, and I wonder how much that was what kind of hamstrung a coach like Lisa Stone, who was maybe playing for those, regular season championships when it clearly wasn't going to get you there. Whereas on the men's side, Josh Schertz is looking for that. He got that regular season tournament. He didn't get that championship, and thus not necessarily like if the expectations were reversed. I don't know. I don't know how you see that.
No, I think that's all right, and I don't have a lot to add to that because I just kind of agree with you. I just think all things considered, it's just a really impressive job.
Um, Speaking of well, great jobs. Uh, Colin Surrey did a great job on the radio call.
He did. Yeah, and that's the broadcast that I kind of leaned on, right? I was having some technical difficulties getting a stream to work cooperate with me the whole time. So I listened to his broadcast quite a bit, and he was great as always. He was a one-man crew. He played his interview with Martinez at halftime. It took up the whole break. It was perfectly timed. So as soon as that ended, he got right back into the action. And then every break, all I could hear was the SLU band. It was perfect. It was a really enjoyable way to listen to the game. And then Zach, it looks like the team got a little shout out back at home at Chaffetz Arena that night.
Yeah, this one kind of threw me for a loop because I thought the whole thing was like a kind of a jokey bit,
Yeah.
but I guess they got a shout out during the Zach Brown band concert. I guess Zach Brown band themselves shouted them out.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, like you're in this team's arena. They couldn't play there because of your concert. And then I don't know, to bring that attention to the team who looked like they were kind of in a whole row lined up in
It
the
looked like they were in the accessible seating, so to
yeah, like
speak.
like in the 200s. Like they
Yeah,
got up, they managed to squeeze them to that row up
between
there.
the no between the yeah, like the
Between the one in the front of the 200s, I
like
should
the
say.
wheelchair accessible.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I assume that they had space there and you were able to get them up there for the concert. But that was I thought that was really cool.
yeah, I wonder if they kind of just went there as like a championship kind of, hey, let's go to the concert now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would be really interested to hear how all of that came together.
um, well, I remember the time Mac Miller played at Chaffetz and wore a Billiken jersey. I think we've had a couple times where that's happened, but
Hmm. Not to be
uh,
confused with Zach Miller.
no, which is funny because a lot of people thought it was it looked like me in the picture, which is really weird. I don't know. Pete, unfortunately, like I feel bad for baseball and softball here, but I think we're gonna
Yeah.
have to move quickly through it. Um,
We are. We're gonna have to adopt the voice of the guy in the old Micro Machines commercials, and
the
just tear through.
end of a movie trailer from the 90s.
Their time will come, though. I mean, like if you've
Yes.
listened to this episode, you know that this means the end of a lot of subjects that we've had in men's basketball, and it means that we're really done for the season with women's basketball. barring, the off-season developments. So I think they're going to get a lot more time coming up here.
This is a straight up 2-hour episode. All right, baseball. 5-4 win in 10 innings versus SIUE on Tuesday the 2nd. The Billikens coughed up a 3-1 lead in the ninth, giving up 3 runs. Then they answered with a run in the bottom of the inning to tie it and walked it off in the bottom of the 10th with the bases loaded and 1 out. Who else but Patrick Closey drove home Ian Blazer to win it? Tyler Fogarty scored 3 of SLU's 5 runs. Chase Beatty had 3 RBIs in a pretty unconventional way, a single, a walk, and a fielder's choice. Henry Littman started and gave up 1 and 4. Dawson Smith had 4 innings, gave up 3 runs when he got to the ninth. Charlie Weber got out of the inning, and Josh Cunningham pitched the 10th, ending up with a win. Pete, give us the first game of the 3-game series at St. Joe's.
It's the good one. It's the 10-2 win on Friday the 5th, and it was the 500th win as a head coach for Darren Hendrickson. Incredible career.
5 Hendo. 5 Hendo.
5 Hendo, of course. Make 5 Hendo a thing. It was actually a pretty close game most of the time, and SLU took a 4-2 lead into the ninth, and then they put up a 6-run inning. SLU loaded the bases, and then the scoring began when Tyler Fogarty was hit by a pitch. 3 singles later, it was 10-2. Ethan Bell came back to finish off the game. Jackson Holmes had a nice start with 1 earned run in 6 innings. Ethan Sitzman and Cole Smith led SLU with 3 hits apiece, and then Sitzman had 3 RBIs. Patrick Closey scored 3 runs and had the game's only home run, which was a solo shot in the 5th. Zach, what happened on Saturday the 6th?
Saturday the 6th, 9-1 loss. Billiken scored the first run off a Closey RBI single in the top of the first, but it was all St. Joe's after that. SLU had 5 hits on the day with no one outside the top 4 in the lineup getting a hit. Jackson Yarberry started and gave up 4 in 1 2/3 innings. Charlie Weber pitched the next 4 and gave up 4 more. Cunningham and Owen Kelly finished it off, with Kelly allowing the last run. Pete, Sunday.
Yeah, they lost 7-3 in this one for the second day in a row. SLU got the first run in the top of the first, and then for the second day in a row, St. Joe's answered with 3 in the bottom of the first. The first run was Closey again. The outfielder dropped his fly ball, and Ethan Sitzman scored. Chase Beatty hit a solo shot in the second. Knox Preston drove home the third run in a ground out on the 5th. The bats were a little bit better in this one with 10 hits, but SLU struggled on the mound again. Owen Chaffin pitched only the first inning. He gave up 3. Evan Gray pitched the next 2 2/3, gave up the next 3 with 2 of those earned. And then Henry Littman pitched the rest of the game and allowed 1 run. Next up, SLU hosts Southern Indiana on Tuesday, April 9th, before hosting Davidson for a 3-game weekend series on the 12th through the 14th. And then, Zach, why don't you tell us what happened against Lindenwood on Wednesday the 3rd for the softball team?
7-5 loss versus Lindenwood on Wednesday the 3rd. 5-5 after 3. Lindenwood hit a 2-run homer in the 5th, and that was it. Billikens had 2 costly throwing errors in the second that led to 2 runs. Abby Mallow, Kelsey Etling homered for the Billikens. Isabel Royal pitched 4 2/3, gave up all 7 runs, 6 earned. Taylor Hockman finished the game for SLU.
Good news, Zach, is SLU swept a 3-game series at St. Bonaventure, who is very not good at softball, but you still
or baseball
got the sweep nonetheless. Yeah. On Saturday the 6th and Sunday the 7th. Doubleheader on Saturday. I'll cover this, Zach, and then you take Sunday. But they won in 9 innings, 2-1 on game 1. Jocelyn Abbott was the hero at the plate with both RBIs. Game-winning sac fly in the 9th. Taylor Hockman was the hero on the mound. She went all 9 innings and struck out 11. 10-2 was the win in 5 innings on Saturday. Took it easy after that long first game. SLU scored at least once in all 5 innings. Kelsey Etling hit the game's only home run, a solo shot in the 3rd. Abby Olsis went 3 for 4 with 3 runs. Jane Kaniski led SLU with 3 RBIs, and then Isabel Royal pitched all 5 innings and struck out 6.
A 12-4 win in 5 on Sunday. SLU had a 6-2 lead heading into the 5th when they doubled up on that run total. Bonaventure got 2 back in the bottom of the 5th, but that was it. Newbanks, Sullivan, Ryan, Etling, Mallow all had productive days at the plate. Etling led with 3 RBI, Sullivan with 3 runs, and Sullivan and Newbanks 2 hits apiece. Taylor Hockman started and got the win. Lily Strand pitched the final inning. Next up, they will play Wednesday the 10th at SEMO before hosting Rhode Island for a 3-game series on the 13th and 14th. Men's tennis. They played an exhibition with Wash U on Saturday the 6th with no results. Next up, they will play Thursday the 11th versus Duquesne, Saturday the 13th at Illinois. The women the match at SIUE on Tuesday. The second was canceled due to weather. By the way, SIUE has a fantastical tennis court, fantastical tennis facility there. 5-2 win versus Bradley on Thursday the 4th. On senior day for Senia Alashina, Sandra Ginnis, Norin Hesham, and Kate Sexton. They were honored as seniors. Hesham and Alashina won in number 2 and 3 spots. Elizabeth Mintasova won at 1. Fiorella Duran, Emerson White took the number 5 and 6 singles win. Sewell only won 1 of 3 doubles matches, so Bradley got that point. They originally had a match at Mizzou scheduled for Sunday the 7th, but it turned into an exhibition against Wash U on Saturday, and we do not have results, much like the men. Next, Wednesday the 10th at Dayton, when they stay at Dayton. Then they stay at Dayton to play Duquesne the next day, which is interesting. Seeing SIUE play tennis made me long for being able to just kind of pop in on campus and watch some SLU tennis on a Sunday.
I know.
Or Saturday. Pete, run down track and field for us.
SLU hosted the Billiken Invitational on April 5th, and John Bell was busy with hosting duties when you don't see him tweeting results. We're just going to cover the first place winners. We did have a lot of top 3 finishers, but to do the first place winners, Samantha Kunzo won the hammer throw with a distance of 200 feet, 11 inches. Madeline Roald took first in the javelin, throwing 127 feet, 10 inches. Journey Admonson won the triple jump with a distance of 39 feet at 6.75 inches. And then Evan Brenderman jumped 21 feet, 10.75 inches in the long jump to win it. Next up, the track team has the Brian Clay Invitational, April 11th to 13th at Azusa Pacific University in Azusa, California.
I'll pretend to know where that's at. That'll do it for us, Pete. What an evening. What a weekend.
Are we done already? I mean, I've got plenty more to talk about.
Sir,
I don't know about you.
It is past my bedtime. Just remember hot shirts in bio. If you're interested, let us know. I'm gauging interest. Maybe do like a pre-order situation or something. We'll figure it out. Thank you guys all for listening. If this is your first time, thank you for popping in, and hopefully you enjoyed what you heard or watched. Pete, as always, and especially now, let's go Bills.
Go Bills.